application to or a contract to a general contractor who then was getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars monthly based on my progress reports on their schedules. So construction and development was where I started seeing these big numbers and trying to manage shit.
Sounds a lot like JCap.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Cap's my boy. He's honestly one of my best friends. And him and I, within having both lost our fathers and within both having degrees in construction management, I talk to Jade Cap regularly. I mean, almost daily. I mean, I've mentioned before Trader Roundup, the 501c3, the business 501c3 nonprofit is owned by Jade Cap, Rodrigo, his best friend, and also a very good friend of mine, and myself. So the 501c3 that we have that is called Trader Roundup is Jade Cap, myself, and Rod. So I have a very close affinity and respect and love for Jade Cap. And a lot of that's come through his background, his personal challenges, in in dealing with death in his family, but then also his approach on trading. So um, I say all of that to say, like, kind of getting back to the original question, was I had these wins and they were not sustainable. I had this risk, this appetite for risk that was not sustainable. And it burnt through my relationship with my first wife. I continued working in construction and construction management, construction development as my primary income. But I was and always have been and will always be a London based trader, because being a father and having to take my kid to daycare and having a job and having to work with architects and contractors and owners meant that during New York, I couldn't trade that. The only moves I was going to find, if I was going to find, was waking up super early and focusing on London. And then even studying you, you said there's going to be an army of folks that once they really understand ICT concepts are going to trade London. And I've kind of always thought of myself being a dad first and foremost, and how much of this audience is old enough to be our children, your children, my children. M7, I threw as well. That similar age, all similar age in our outlook on life, Generation X. And I kind of told myself within all of this, while I still was happily married to my second wife, like, I'm going to be that motherfucker within ICT. And part of my self speech and manifestation, Michael, was talking to myself like, I'm going to trade with all these hopes and aspirations. I'm going to trade like Michael. And for me, it was always this one day. And I would trade London and I'd go to work, and my uncle lived with me, bro. My uncle, who ended up dying of cancer. It's been a year. But what drove me to social media and quitting my job, I was managing a $50 million portfolio and meeting with the owner, the architectural group, the engineering group, the interior design group. And I was single-handedly managing the schedule and the budget of a $50 million development portfolio. And I would bring people together. Like during COVID, we'd have Teams calls, and I'd have 15, 20, 30 people on a call. And my team, the people that worked under me in my project management team, we'd all be fervently taking notes, and then we'd have to apply the meeting minutes, and then obviously the schedule and the budget, etc. But this community was built on me running teams. The way I talk on a phone here is the same way I would be talking to as an owner rep, to the owner, to the architects, to the city officials, whether we were getting permits, and having this collective mastermind of folks is what a progress meeting is within that environment. And Twitter for me was Microsoft Teams. And I started coming to Twitter and leading these calls 100% exactly the way I would lead these calls in a 9 to 5 job, managing a development budget of tens of millions of dollars.
Mm.
So that's the long story. That's kind of the detailed version of I think answering your question of at least where and how we've got to where we are within the community. It being formed, and what held me together was blind luck with wins. Where most folks lose, I won. But then I took devastating losses that affected my relationship with the my own family. I mean,
No,
my
right
ex-wife.
there. That
Go
right there is that's what I want to tap into. That right there, that moment. You lost your first wife. Am I understanding correctly that you're a new father at that time too?
Yeah, I was a new father at that time. Yes, sir.
Okay. So now you have all the trials and tribulations that go along with all that, which is normal. When you were being met with, the short-term adversities of not finding consistency, and like you were saying, that they were unsustainable wins. Once you would get them, you couldn't replicate them. What did you specifically, you the person, the trader, the person that had to deal with all of that weight on you as the new father, as the single dad, and you're trying to carve out a future for your kid and better yourself too, while still maintaining gainful employment. What were you going to as a source of encouragement to continuously keep doing it? I mean, it's one thing to say, you know, it's unsustainable and it was lucky, but you were still dealing with the adversities. So what was it that you did to stay motivated? Because most people would have said, "The fuck this, I'm out of here. Like I can't deal with it. I got a kid to take care of. I got to keep working, and this is just going to have to be a pipe dream. I'll put it aside until another time." Like what motivated you? Because I have students that say, I like listening to Tony Robbins. I like listening to Grant Cardone, and I like listening to whatever. Was there another
Yeah, there
third
was,
party
brother.
thing? What was
And
it?
this is emotional for me to even say this. It was you, Michael. It was you. You gave me more hope. You empowered me. And the more I found you, and the more I listened to you, the more I knew that I could find consistency, and that it wasn't blind luck, and that it was a skill set. And I had to work a full time job. I had to be a dad to a little one. And I had to come home and I had to put away the gambler and I had to dial into you, which is where and how I started literally memorizing your work and getting access to whatever I could get access to. I am not a private mentorship student. I said this in our conversation before. I seeked out and I found bootleg ICT content and I poured myself into it. It was the only beacon of light at that time that I had. It was the only hope I had. It was you, Michael. You gave me, you were the full moon in the darkness that was a very destructive, self destructive path of thinking I could do things that I couldn't, not knowing what I didn't know. Me hanging up the gambler's shoes to really focus on the skill set to try to become a legitimate trader. You were the first and really the only voice that brought clarity to me in a time when I had a baby and I was juggling a lot and life was extremely difficult. I found peace in listening, staying up late at night and following your reviews and your concepts and things that you were sharing and then being able to apply it in demo on the charts and saying I'm not going to wreck myself. I'm going to focus on the skill set. A lot of what I preach and advocate to other traders 100% is because I've been down that dark road.
Lonely, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And wrecking yourself is in destroying, like, the gambler in me, the addictive personality in me. Let it ride. And I lost. And I lost relationships. And that really impacted me. And one of the things that I've tried to instill within this community is my own struggles and challenges. And why folks, I think, come up to talk. I mean, my life, Michael, my wife left me for a dude 40 minutes away, telling me she was going to yoga. She's fucking some dude 40 minutes away. I'm going on ski trips with my daughter. No, go enjoy Mount Hood with Sienna. She's fucking and sucking some dude because he's giving her time and attention that I'm not. Because my attention, my mistress, was the market. And not only that, I was working a real job and I was taking the savings, our savings, and I was putting them back in the market, betraying her trust.
So would you
Because
say at that time, was there ever a time when she was behind you in that endeavor and maybe falling away?
I mean, when I had some payouts, brother, she was the first one to fucking suck me that one kind of way and treat me like that one kind of way with the wins. Yeah, when the wins were there, when I bought her the brand new Tesla, when I paid for the house, yeah, she was that one, and it was awesome. But she was there for the good moments, and she resented me for the bad.
Your second wife, was there ever a support structure from her in your pursuit of trading, or was it a void?
Only when I won, bro. She couldn't really shoulder or accept the fact that I was dealing or that I would encounter losses. And
Hmm.
no, so I mean, honestly, I would say, Michael, she was a poison pill to my trading, and she brought a level of expectation that I couldn't shoulder. So I wasn't coming to the charts just for me, and it's hard enough me versus me, right? And now
Hmm.
it's me versus her, which is why I think ultimately the relationship fell apart.
When you had your losses and you were a new dad, and now you are a single parent, divorced, when you had those losing trades, do you believe that they were magnified in the weight when you would be looking at your child and thinking, if I didn't have this child, this would suck still, but this is so much now more worse because I feel like I'm feeling not only myself but that child too. Did you have those moments?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I stopped trading and I was working full time and I was studying trading and I was trying to pick up what you were putting down within your life's work and within the different series that I would find, and I would focus on demo because the shrapnel from a bomb blowing up, I couldn't handle it emotionally as a father. I couldn't. I could not. And for a long time, I just straight stopped trading. I mean, I stopped trading options, that's for sure. I stopped trading zero TE options even after having made a lot. I just kept having these insufferable losses that I couldn't handle emotionally. And I felt that I was failing my daughter, not to mention the women that were, you know, stroking my ego or stroking my, you know, me.
Hmm.
So
I remember
yeah,
when
I,
my
I
son
went back to
youngest,
demo. I went back to demo and tried to focus on the skill set, and that was for a very long time. Even emotionally dealing with my ex-wife, even this year, I spent a lot of time in demo because I didn't feel like I was emotionally capable. I was still focused on the skill set, trying to practice what I preach, practice what you preach.
What were the things that were the most helpful to you? Like when you say that they were inspirational to you, like what specific things? Was it a specific concept or is it a mindset thing? I don't recall doing too much of the mindset. I was really primarily focused on teaching conceptual things early on. So I don't know what you were tapping into in terms of finding that
I mean, it was your
encouragement.
accuracy, it was your execution, it was someone to look up to. I mean, as a trader, and I know you don't love, I mean, it's from my generation, you're Michael Huddleston, you were Michael Jordan. And when you think of a young boy aspiring to be a professional athlete and looking up to someone, again, I was getting bootleg content and random weekly reviews, and you were like, you were able to succeed with my concepts, and you weren't involved with the cohesive structure that I formulated for the people that were part of my mentorship. I I just pieced and stitched together the principles that you provided, and more importantly, you gave me someone to look up to, and that hope and that aspiration is what kept me coming to the charts. And then eventually finding solace in demo and finding solace in, even though I'm going to go work, this can't hurt me. And for a long time, trading was just hurting me, even though I was, and I've made far more money than I lost in dumb luck, but I've still lost houses in a day, in a week, a lot. So the adding up the zeros, it wasn't just, I mean, folks have a simulated account and a demo account, and I just lost a lot, man. I lost a lot, and it wiped out a lot of my gains. I mean, my brother drives a McLaren, he's a multimillionaire, and I'm 46. I spend a lot of my time on social media, and I'm not broke, but I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I know I'm capable of being.
If you could go back
I
in
have that
time,
clarity. Go ahead.
you had the ability to go back in time, knowing what you know about yourself right now, what you know about the experiences you went through. What would be the top thing that you could go back? You can only pick one thing, you can change it. You can remove it, change a different direction, change one aspect of something you did in the past while involved in trading. What would that one thing be?
Tracking my performance, tracking my performance as if I were a professional even back then. Journaling, back testing, whatever you want to call it, a performance analysis. Instead of blacking out the devastating trades or decisions that I would make, journaling, journaling and having a performance record. If I could change anything, it would be that,
It's a good
without a
one to
doubt.
pick. What was the catalyst that makes you choose that? And like, what made you start thinking, I need to start doing this?
My results. But the more I started tracking and recording, then the more I started seeing not just patterns, but clear data and making decisions more based off of data and not patterns was the only type of consistency I could start to build from or create a foundation off of. I couldn't trade patterns because I'd lose. It was too discretionary. But tracking my performance and logging my results, good or bad, I mean, my sub answer to that would be my appetite for risk. So tracking my performance and having a little more sustainable appetite towards risk management, because I didn't. I YOLO'd a lot, and I can put my head down in shame and say that. But
Would you
I
say that was the biggest impact why you weren't finding success or consistency early on? Was it the fact that you, well, let's narrow it down for the listeners, because many times when I talk to students, they use the terms interchangeably when they mean one thing more than the other. Would you say that you were impulsively trading or that you were over leveraging in your trades?
I would say both, brother. I would say I was impulsively trading, especially without tracking a performance, especially without having or utilizing data
Hmm.
or data log. Um, that was I was impulsive and over leveraging, and I was doing it more based on patterns. As soon as I started really tracking a performance and started utilizing data, which again, I give you all the flowers, and I have to give M7 flowers as well, because tracking and utilizing data and statistics and having a performance log is really where I started turning the corner in regards to my own consistency, profitability, consistency. I think too many people, including myself, have pulled money out of the market, but can you do it consistently? And that's what even at 46 as a trader, bro, I've been, I have struggled with consistency. And this year, I've really found my edge and my consistency. And that's come through utilizing everything that you've taught and blended it with what I've learned through M7. And I mean that with all the love. And I think you really embrace a trader seeing what they see and trading what they trade. And me being able to analyze, because I have this engineer's mindset, because I mean, because numbers are so important, being able to not just look at a chart, but being able to look at statistics and data, and then even apply my performance within the data. I can look at a high time frame the same way you teach. I can look at 20 years worth of data. I can look at 10 years worth of data. I can look at the last 20 Mondays this year. I can look at the last 10 years of October and what happens in October the last 10 years, the last 20 years, the last 5 years, the last 2 years. And just looking at these tables and graphs, and not just candles, has given me a consistent edge that I struggled with.
If you could go back and talk to your younger self, what encouragement would you give yourself? And what things would you tell yourself to avoid? These are going to be the biggest problems that's going to be the catalyst for you doing much more work longer than it's necessary to get it.
Never give up. Never give up. Don't don't let blowing an account blow your mental capacity to do this. The mental equity within a chart is so important with us being traders. If I could go back and tell myself anything, I had so many limiting beliefs, self destructive thoughts, because of a decision I made on the charts. And that kept me in a cycle, a perpetual cycle of disbelief, of insecurity. And if I could go back and tell myself anything, Michael, would be never give up. And it's not a financial account you're blowing your mental account, your mental capacity to believe in yourself. And only through consistency doesn't even have to say the word profitability. Only through consistency is where the mental capital came. The limiting beliefs dissipated, or the I can do this was louder than the I can't. I'll never. It's I can, I will. Look, he can do it. Why can't I? What am I doing? For me, it wasn't any one individual concept of yours, Michael. It was being Michael Jordan. And then it was, which way am I going to utilize this skill set for myself? And then coming across very detailed PAM models, again, bootleg, but a London-based protraction model. I trade London. Hey, wait, there's a central bank dealers range. Oh, wait, that's between 2 and 8 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock is the flout, is Asia, and together combined, they're the flout. The flout's a half standard. I can measure that. It's 23 pips. It's 28 pips, 28 ticks. I can quantify the size. I can create specific data-based rules that exist. So every single time that I blew an account, I fed my demon. And only after trialing so much in demo and finding consistency without actually hurting myself, that I started to feed belief. And only after having a performance record and tracking my performance, my analytics, studying data, did I unlock what I believe is my own consistency. Same framework every day. 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Your silver bullet times are the times that the DR forms. So for me, it's the same framework every day. Every day I'm looking at the same framework. And then I'm basing my rule set around the model that I believe Price is providing. And because you've taught so many, because I've been exposed to so much from you, but also M7, I have a lot of models that I can engage in with Price. And it's as we've all stated, it's if then, if when, and specific conditions need to be met. And then I can look at, like I said, what's the performance of Tuesdays over the last 10 years in October. I can review that, and I can see if London goes long, that there could be a 56 to 70% chance that New York's going to go long too. And constructing those data models, I've been able to trade with more probability. And within the probability and the data has also come more consistency. So I hope I answered your question. I feel long-winded.
No, you're fine. I'm trying to be patient so that way, because these aren't easy questions to answer. I mean, because it's you have to reflect on a long period of time. It's one of those kind of questions where you want to be as honest and direct so that way you can really communicate the gravity of what I'm asking. And for folks that have just started learning how to trade, they don't understand it. And for the folks that have been at it for a while, these types of questions are paramount because it's important to see what other people have gone through. And you've mentioned, what your weaknesses were early on. What would you say, some of your strengths are now, having gone through everything in terms of adversity and trying to discover who you are and how to work through your character flaws like every trader does? What would you say your strengths are today?
I'd say my number one strength is, and it has to do with what my job was as a 9 to 5. And I say this to a lot of folks is we are professional decision makers. And I feel like I have wisdom and experience and reflection that today I make good decisions on and off the charts.
What would you
That's
say that is the contributing factors that you employ now that makes you a good decision maker, whereas in the beginning you can readily admit probably you weren't the best at decision making then. What things are you putting in practice now as a more refined trader with more experience, more in the trenches, scar tissue, the moxie now? What is it that you're employing now that makes you better in that area?
the realization that the decisions that I make, I'm making in the mirror, and that I can't hide from them.
Wonderful.
I I always thought that the rules applied to everyone else but me, and that I could get away with not having to follow the rules. But when I'm defining what those rules are and I have to look in the man in the mirror is defining those decisions that I'm making, you can't hide from that. And it took me a long time to not be able to hide from the decisions I was making because a lot of the decisions I was making were self destructive. And the biggest change that I've made is holding myself accountable and holding myself accountable on Front Street. This group has been very therapeutic for me over the last year, being in a lot of emotional drawdown. This talking amongst traders has been very therapeutic for them and me. And not hiding from, not being capable of hiding from the decisions I make on and off the chart. Off the chart matters so much more. And I don't think I realized that. I thought I could just be reckless, but somehow I would still operate within this level of precision. And I would make reckless decisions. I would do reckless things. I mean, even if it's just drinking and partying and, you know, doing what a lot of kids do, up all night, getting faded, fucking, and then turning around and thinking you're going to engage in the charts the next day with some kind of precision, like you're actually going to work to make a financial decision.
Do you think that in the early stages of your trading, did you ever use trading as an escape from whatever you were feeling at the time? Like you just feel like you wanted to win something to feel like you were a winner for the sake of winning that trade?
Oh, how many times have I gone to the market for validation when everything else was falling apart? Risking it all to try and feel validated with a win, holding my breath, not having rules or framework, making a discretionary decision, not journaling, not back testing, yet somehow thinking that trade was going to answer my problem, my bigger problem. I did it a lot, Michael. I did it a lot.
Would you say that today, with more maturity and a more objective approach to doing what it is that we do as professional decision makers, would you say that today's mindset that you employ is more aligned with following a process, a model, pursuing the evidence that data would suggest is statistically probable for you to be doing what you're doing versus having any emotional or psychological reward for the basis outside of doing what is in the model?
I mean, 100%. I mean, for the audience folks listening, like Andrew Tate, I think he can be a motivational voice. He might be divisive, but I was in some pretty deep, dark drawdown mentally and emotionally, and I had some one-on-ones with M7 who pretty much said, "Listen, pussy, motherfucker, get up. Quit making excuses. The only way you're going to win is by start acting like a fucking winner." Right? And if you think of like if you were to Google Andrew Tate motivation, like that's what M7 was for me in some of my deepest darkest times, and he was in my ear and literally talking to me for hours. And that really helped me. That lifted me up. That lifted me up in a time that, you know, I was struggling, man. I felt like I felt worthless. I mean, a woman that I spent 8 years with, I mean, that my wife leaving me for another dude, that really fucked with me, Michael. And it really fucked with my trading. It really, even though I had had all of these clarity and understanding of what these concepts were and even how to measure them, and I was doing better, it just fucked with me. And he kind of found me at a time. He found me, and he poured into me, and he invested a lot of time and energy into me to help me see what my potential was. And he was like an Andrew Tate voice of like, you're a winner, you can win, you know how to win, you're not a pussy, you're not weak. Get the fuck up and be who you are. Realize your own potential. There's a zillion fucking women out there. And guess what? All of them want to be with a high value guy that really men, only 1% of them are actually going to be. You're that motherfucker. And I mean, I think we all need that friend. We all need that mentor. We all need that shoulder. And he really was that for me, man. He really was. Not only that, like just all the statistics and data and the way he was able for me to supercharge your concepts really made me more inclusive. Like I'd see the Twitter beef and this tribal, like, oh no, fuck you, no, fuck you, oh no, my way's better, no, my way's better. It's like, hold on, hold on. We're all adults here. We're all adults. And if I were to tell you that I've found a way successfully to blend A and B to create my own version of C, and that works, and it doesn't contradict, and they play nice together. Like, do y'all really need to argue and fight about all of this? And instead of arguing and fighting, it's again inclusive, and I've embraced blending your concepts with his concepts, and finding my own way to trade, and it has developed consistency and models that are utilizing your models and his models as confluences, ways of stacking up. It's not just one thing, right? It's all these ingredients going into a cake. And yeah, man. And what comes out is consistency. And after you get consistency, then comes profitability. And then we all get to deal with within profitability, dealing with, then it's not a question of fear, insecurity, but then it's the other side of the spectrum. It's overconfidence, it's greed. In the yin and the yang of trading, like first you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And then once you know what you're doing, you still don't know what the fuck you're doing. Because you just get to be on the other end. So that yin and yang of not knowing what you don't know, but then knowing what you know, but then you don't know what you don't know. And that swing, I think, focusing on a framework, focusing on a model, focusing on consistency, that's that's what we preach every day. That's what I try and utilize this platform for every day, is to talk to the 20-year-old myself who hasn't gone through the difficult, arduous, lonely, dark journey that is binding consistency. I mean, fuck profit, because you ain't gonna, if you're profit, you're gonna, if you're profitable, you're a fraud, because you can't do it again. And that's what I struggled with a lot, kind of on my journey, Michael.
What's your
But
goals for the next 5 years?
my goals for the next 5 years are to take Trader Roundup, my 501c3 nonprofit, and impact real lives. Real lives. Shed light in dark places. Follow in the footsteps of the great men that lead, that have led before me, my mentors. I want to be, I want to utilize my increase to be impactful, help others less fortunate, folks that haven't been blessed, folks that are still on their journey. So my goal, it's obtuse. It's to be more impactful. Honing it in, I want to be the best father I can be, the best son I can be. I want to be the best lover I can be. I want to be the best trader I can be. I want to be the best version of myself. And turning 46 in 2 weeks, I know what that looks like. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I'm more in touch with my spiritual purpose in having an impact after watching not one, but two men, mentors, my father and my uncle, die. And they died with a whimper. No one went to their funeral. Not because they weren't great men, but they didn't have an impact on a lot of other people. They just had that impact on me, which was enough, because I didn't have one father figure, I had two. My mom's brother and my dad. Lost my dad in 2014. Lost my uncle last year. And losing my uncle, I told myself, and that's when I turned to social media, that I wanted to have an impact on this world. I wanted to leave a legacy. I wanted people to know my name. It's my goal in the next 5 years, Michael, is motherfuckers are going to know my name as not just a community builder, but as a great fucking trader. That's my goal. And I want to take my trades and my gains and me being impactful, and I want to help the skinny kids that don't have anything, whose mother and father left them, who are being brought up by their grandma, who can't pay the rent, who haven't eaten. And that's not a 5-year goal. That's a today goal. That's what I focus on. I don't need to talk about what I do to other people, but that's what I do. I don't do it for social media. I don't do it for this platform. But I'm here to help and impact the lives of the millions of other people who are misfortunate, unfortunate, and that struggle. And that's it.
I have one last question, and you can ask me some stuff. What what words of encouragement would you give someone that has started learning how to trade? It doesn't have to be my stuff. What words of encouragement would you tell someone that has tried to sit down and you look at these charts and it looks like hieroglyphics in a foreign language they've never learned before, and it feels so insurmountable that they can't even imagine being able to tell what this thing is going to tell you to do, to buy or sell, to make money. How do you make money? What should I do? Like, what words of encouragement for those individuals that are right there at that crossroad, contemplating this is probably going to be too hard for them. Maybe they shouldn't try to do it. What would you tell them?
I would tell them to stop focusing on the Lambos and the account flippers with the foreign brokerage accounts that are utilizing a marketing platform to try and sell them a get rich quick scheme. I would tell people to listen to and find a voice that you can trust, that has your interest in teaching you a model and a framework. And the most important thing, track, manage, log your performance. Every trade is a lesson because you're going to lose a lot. You're going to acquire a lot of lessons. But if you don't know what time and price, where they were, what they were doing, you don't have a model if you don't have data. You don't have a framework. You don't have consistency if you're trying to follow some motherfucker who's driving around in a Lambo telling you how to trade. So find credible resources to learn from. Focus on tracking and managing your lessons. And in the world that we live in, data is king. You ain't shit if you ain't got reps. It doesn't matter how I trade. It matters how you trade. That would be it, bro. That's what that's the advice I would give. I mean,
Very good.
so I get to ask you a couple questions.
If we could encapsulate it in 30 minutes,
Yes.
yeah,
Well, I
that's fine.
mean, I'd love to just kind of, I think a lot of people want to know like the burning question on social media is like, what's Michael Huddleston going to do after November 11th? I mean, that's the first question I think of at the top of my head. I mean, is that okay? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I want to do a lot of fishing. I want to do a lot of personal things with my wife, some of the things that she wants to spend time with doing as a couple. Um, Travel. She wants to go to certain destinations, and I'm going to make myself available to do that so we could go and have those moments together. She wants a scrapbook, like she wants to see us bouncing around a little bit, globe travel a little bit, and that's a little hard for me because I don't want to fly. So everything's going to have to be either cruise or mainland. So she's been working on me in regards to certain destinations. She wants to go to Italy and she wants to see France and Ireland. I like Ireland. There was a time when I was contemplating moving to Ireland. There was also a time when I was contemplating moving to the UK. She wasn't on board with that, but um, just basically just being, a person away from charts. I'm going to trade, but I'm not trying to be inner circle trader anymore. So I just want to be her husband and the dad to my kids and encourage them and try to help them become better at what two of them are interested in, and I want to try to supercharge that. So, and I don't want to be in the spotlight online.
okay. When you what degree, again, I'm trying to think of not just looking at questions, but I'm trying to think of what the listener would want to know if they had the opportunity to stand up here and ask you a question. The burning question I think of, what are your books going to be about? Is it going to be technical science? Is it going to be a story? Is it going to be a written mentorship? Is there a flavor? I'm sure you've already got these books written. So I'm curious as to what you'd be willing to reveal to us, because I feel like I'm asking you like the the hard questions that the community wants to know, right? And
The
again, I don't know.
the three technical books are going to be basically the only way I can condense, the only way I could sit down and condense. Now that I've released the language, um, in my mentorship, the paid mentorship, the charter level stuff, there's people out there trying to sell the price action models. Okay. And I'm on record saying this, and I told them when I released them that these are very demanding in terms of parameters. Things have to be this way, or you can't trade them. Knowing that the majority of the people that were in my mentorship and still are waiting for me to produce new videos, which notice there ain't no videos. I told y'all I'm not going to make them videos anymore because they want to sell it. I've made millionaires in different countries because they sold this stuff. And I get it. It was hot. It was the drug of choice for a little while. And the language that I've released and made public now, well, perfect example, I was doing a live stream the other day and I was unaware. I was very confident, overconfident that the audio was working. I didn't even bother asking on Twitter like I have been to see if everybody could confirm they could hear me. But it was very encouraging to see people tweeting to me saying, even though I don't hear you audibly, I hear you audibly. I know what you're talking about because you know what I'm doing. If I'm drawing a line above two equal highs or relatively equal highs, you know what's above there, buy side and sell side. And I'm drawing out rectangles. So you know that this is where my focus is. And I told my son, I said, that to me is awesome. And for someone that's not a trader or aware of what it is I'm trying to draw a spotlight to, it won't mean anything to them. But because you have spent time with me, that means you understand my language. So if you've never read the book Street Smarts, okay, I thought that that book was done in a way where it scratched an itch that I didn't know I had, because I thought that trading had to be absolutely next to impossible, and it was a puzzle that only a few could figure out, and I wasn't going to put it down until I figured it out. I believe God gave me obsessive compulsive for that very reason. Every mental disorder I have is a superpower. In the beginning, as a child, I thought it was a weakness. So it's in the vein and writing style of Street Smarts, that they have very specific, they call it patterns. I have specific models. So I'm going to be releasing very specific models and amplifications of the ones that I've already taught, because they get better than what I've already shared. Those are the three things. And then I'm going to draw on the core content lessons so that way you can see that this is what's available to you. You don't have to do it this way, but this is just one more way to skin the cat. The fourth one is the one that everybody seems to be asking about in emails and in reaching out to me on letters. Like they'll mail me letters and say, "Look, can you just talk about what that book's going to be about? Can you do this and can you do that?" So I'll let the cat out of the bag, because I don't think this is going to be the book that people really care too much about, and I don't care if you buy any of them really. I just want to put it in written format, so that way it has association to me as the author. In my coming up, okay, in my coming up as a trader, I met a lot of people, and certain individuals were interested in me because I was able to do things publicly, like you all see me doing right now. I was doing that with the commodity market. Now, I wasn't always accurate. My hit rate wasn't as what you all see today. When I talk about something publicly and it happens, that's a track record. I'm not deleting anything. I'm not giving two sides of a coin and saying, let's flip it, and whatever side comes up, I'm going to be calling myself the winner. It's very specific things I'm teaching and touching on when I'm referring to price. And if you do that type of stuff in in a world where it's rare to see it, in a new medium, which was the internet, because on America Online, you know, that was the thing back then. Everybody was enamored by it, willing to pay too much money for just an hour worth of access to it and wait forever for things to load up. Folks reached out to me, and there's people out there literally talking a bunch of bullshit for the sake of clout. But the Commodity Futures Trading Commission literally subpoenaed me. Okay. And I had a desktop computer, and I facetiously, and like a dick move, I made a comment in the corpse. I told Corpse before we started the interview, I said, look, there's some things I'm going to talk about, other things I'm certainly not going to talk about. Um, certain things I do talk about harm me in every sense of the word. So there's going to be certain points where you'll ask me, and then I'll say, I'm not going to talk about that. And I ask you to be respectful of that and make sure it's not in the final cut. But there's other things I divulged and talked about in terms of, how I got this information and meeting people and seeing things that would, by anyone else's description, would be considered out of this world. Some of those experiences won't be believable. They're just simply not going to be believable to people. And I've shared some of my testimonies that are outside of trading, and they sound like made up stories. And I don't care what people's opinions are. I really don't care, because they happened. I experienced it. I'm bringing the receipts to show you that these things cause this change in me, that I can't say this is the reason why. It really was this. It really was this teacher, this book. It was really this thing, this strategy that I renamed, like everybody else is saying. I have had literally Old Testament experiences that I don't know how else to say except for this is what happened. When I tell people in honesty that I hear a voice. I hear it. It tells me exactly what it wants me to do, what to say, and when I listen to it, I'm right. When I was learning how to do this, I would literally be crying and praying, asking, please, I'm ready to end myself because I wouldn't let go of it. Look here. I would look, and then the audible part sometimes wouldn't be audible, it would be like internal, but it's not my conscience talking. And then I grew the courage to just run with it and just talk to it like I'm talking to you. And in the beginning, I thought I was losing my mind. I thought I was going mad. And as I was opening myself up more to it and that's what fed me doing this all night long and going to work with 3 hours sleep, sometimes less than that, and never running out of energy. There's some of you that are probably listening to this. Maybe you're a Muslim and you think Allah's God. I don't think that. Some of you think that Buddha's God. I don't think that. Some of you think that Jesus is the Son of God and he's part of a Godhead. I don't believe that. I believe there's one God. I don't know why he spoke to me. I don't know. I don't deserve it. I do not deserve that. But there will be no one that's going to ever rise up and speak against him or my experiences and belittle any of it. And I sat out here on Twitter for over 2 years, challenging, begging, and pleading this little man to let me show you, and he was too fearful. I came right back to Twitter to show you exactly what's real. I've allowed you all into my world. I've allowed you into my life. And I've told you things that none of you are in a position to expect or demand. And when I'm honest with you, and I'm telling you what took place and how it happened, and then you want to make a joke about it, does that inspire me to tell you more? Do my children telling me that people are trying to reach out to them through their cell phones? Are you ICT's dad? Can you ask your dad to do this and can you ask your dad to do that? And they run up on them in public? Does that make me feel like I made a good decision by ever opening my mouth about any of this? I believe the scripture that refers to be careful how you entertain strangers because many times you're entertaining angels unaware. I've had conversations with people that wouldn't make any sense to you. They they knew me. I don't know them. And truth be told, because I know this would never fit with what most of you would accept as reality, real, whatnot, and even this whole discussion here, sound bites are going to be taken from it. They're going to turn it into clout chasing videos because they lose their accounts live on their live streams. They can't join the Robbins Cup. They can't do it. And I have never, ever, ever, ever joined a Robbins Cup with my children's name. They never done it. And I didn't lose it 3 times, 2 times, 4 times, 5 times. I sank that account because it was synced to a MyFX book, and I was told by good source that they had every intentions of copying every trade, and I sank it. And I posted right on that MyFX book website, "You're my bitches," and people have taken that and twisted it and said I was talking to my students. No, I said it about MyFX book. I don't mind doing something to mar my image because all I got to do is come out here for a week and prove to you I know exactly what I'm talking about and what these markets are going to do. So the fourth book is an answer for people that just don't want to take the truth. You need a side story. You need something else to entertain you. How does this guy know how to do this? So I believe the two people I met, you need a side story. So I'll give you that. Might be entertaining for some of you, Tom Clancy-esque, but the rest is rooted in stuff you find in the Old Testament. When I said I stood out in front of my house and I basically said, God, this is the moment. I need to know. I need to know this right now. And I didn't say it, but I said it in my heart. Audibly, I didn't say it, but in my heart, I said, if this does not happen, I'm putting all of this down. And I'm going to just assume that it's all been emotions worked up in a frenzy. But I need this right now. I need to know that you hear me. I need to know that if you answer this, I will never doubt whatever outcome comes from whatever prayer I ask for. And I'm not asking for a yes every time because it'll be no from you if it doesn't happen, and I'm okay with it. I'll know that you heard me, and that's all I need to know. But I need to know that you hear me. And I asked for it. Something so trivial, like a child. I came to him like a child. I said, I want to see a shooting star. Right where I'm looking, I'm not even going to blink because I already know it's coming. I don't even know why I said that. It just felt like I had to say it. And it looked like two pinpoint lights bouncing on one another, going from right to left. And I couldn't take my eye off of it. And I got butterflies telling you this all over again. My voice is shaking because I'm right in that same moment again. And where it stopped, a small, ever so tiny, thin shooting star from left to right shot right across. And before I could open my mouth and say, that's it, I know exactly, thank you so much, it's like a softball or a grapefruit. Now, this is the only way I can describe it. If you take your right hand, extend it in front of your face, as far as your arm can reach, imagine a grapefruit or a softball, just a little bit larger than a regular baseball, Major League Baseball size diameter. This ball of fire, literally from left to right, exactly where I was looking, exactly where the first two pinpoint lights ended and the first shooting star started, it began right there. And I saw it so slowly move across the sky right in front of where I was standing and looking up at. It lit the whole area up like it was daytime. I heard it crackling. And I couldn't believe what I just saw and heard. I'm looking around like, did anybody else please see that with me? And I was the only one standing there. And I started jumping up and down, crying and laughing at the same time. Because what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Like, what do you do at that moment? It shakes your whole core. Like I got butterflies talking about all over again. I knew that he was telling me unequivocally, never doubt me. I hear you. Because he trusted when I told him, if it's no, it's no, and I'm okay with it. And there's been many things I've asked for, it's no. But sometimes it's yes, and it's confirmed with a yes when it matters most. My son Cameron, he was on a travel team for soccer. And my daughter's birthday, we were going to go to a Kobe steakhouse and celebrate it there. And he had a game scheduled that same day. And he didn't want to go there because he didn't want to eat the Japanese food. So she's like, well, I can take him, drop him off at the game, and meet you there. And I was like, immediately she said that, I got this unction in my spirit. Tell her no. I said, no, you can't do that. She's like, it's not a big deal. I promise I can be there. You won't be waiting long. I said, no, no, it's not safe. Don't do it. Don't do it. No, 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 I'm going to go. I'm going to take him. I told her again as she's going down the steps, please don't go. Something bad's going to happen. Please just don't go. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be fine, Michael. Just go. I'll meet you guys there. Well, 20 minutes later, she's calling me. My youngest son was in the back seat riding with her. He's screaming, I want that dad. I want my dad. She hit black ice, spun around, and a truck plowed into her. Totaled the car. Cameron's shoulder's messed up. He bangs his head against the window. And my youngest son's tore up because the seatbelt damaged his front of his body, and he hit his head against the seat. And he's panicking. And she's panicking. She don't know where she's at. She don't know if she can move the car out of the middle of the road. And then the phone dies. That same voice told me to close the door when I was a teenager, right before my friend, who's no longer with us anymore, pulled his father's trigger and almost blew my face off with his gun. And every paint chip that hit me in the face I thought was buckshot. And all the buckshot was on the side of the door I was standing on, and not one of it hit me. That same voice. To someone that's an atheist, to someone that has another religion, this sounds schizophrenic. This sounds like you're hearing voices. You're mad. And if anybody else was telling me this and I didn't have faith in God, I would think the same thing. I understand, but I can't make you believe it, and I don't care if you do. Where do you think I learned this? Where do you think it came from? Because I've told everyone, 5 million US dollars. Find it anywhere. Talking about it in a comment section or tweeting about it, it's just rebooted, doesn't hold water. And I only want credit so that way in these books and like in these discussions here, I don't want praise. I want the opportunity to direct it to him. Because it's his. And I don't deserve being the person I know I was and who I still am. Somebody else should have had this. And I feel guilty. I feel guilty leaving because I feel like I'm not doing what I was supposed to do. But I love my wife. I'm not going to be able to answer everything for some of you. You don't have to believe anything I say. I want you to not believe it. I want you to test it. If it's real, you'll know. That fourth book is fiction for a reason. I'm giving you something other than what I've already told you, because some people want that more than simply what it is. You can't imagine. You can't imagine something outside of our time domain, outside of our physical property of gravity, in our simulation that we live in, that created everything and us. He's incapable of telling me something like this. He's incapable of teaching you something. You're trying to tell me that there isn't a creator that can't find a way to communicate to somebody and give them an understanding that it would have never had anywhere else? Where did Solomon get his wisdom from? He asked for it. He asked for it. How did he ask for it? Give me wisdom so I can lead my people. What? Give me wisdom so I can help others. And that's how I asked it. I wanted it for me in the beginning, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't tell you what any of these candlesticks were going to do. Everything was failure. My motivation was I can't be selfish. I felt convicted. I felt like the Holy Spirit was dealing with me because I was a very selfish person. Because I needed to be validated. I needed to feel significant because my own family didn't see it in me. They didn't want nothing to do with me. I was supposed to be aborted. And my murderous father had to threaten my own mother with her own life for me to be born. He's still out there in Jessup, Maryland. He's up there. 155634 is his inmate number. Michael Joe Hallington. Write to him. It'll probably take a long time for him to write back because his eyes are really bad, but he's got a friend that'll write back to you probably. I know all this stuff sounds like, what the heck? This sounds like a movie. And honestly, that's another reason why I want to drop down and I don't want any more attention. I don't want any more attention. That book literally is me giving the people that just don't want to hear the truth something to hang their hat on. I codified Enigma. It's mine. It's mine. That is not the algorithm that delivers price. This is what handshakes with it. Two different things. Totally two different things.
Quick follow-up question. How do you manage a family in life in the charts? I know it's a loaded topic, and I know you're exiting from where you're at and what you've been doing, but there's a lot of folks that still will seek to manage this balance. How do you recommend or subscribe someone manage trading
Um,
in a
well,
family?
listening to me, understand that I was a failure in that regard because of time management skill. I had to learn that late. And as a father, as a business owner, a trader, and a husband, you only have 1440, and you have to make the best of it. And while some of you don't run on the little sleep that I try to run on, you have to have more sleep because you're doing other things. You worry about things I don't have to worry about. So all that requires more rest. I don't think I'm equipped to tell someone that has to have a job, has a family member, maybe a spouse, or maybe a new relationship, or just falling out of a relationship. I don't think I'm in a position where I can give any usable approach except for you just have this many minutes a day, this many hours a day, this many days a week, this many days a month, and what you got coming in as income and what you have to do to manage everything that goes on. Like we had cheerleading with my daughter, we had sports, everything with my kids, and I was rarely ever there. So I failed as the dad. I failed as the husband. I failed as the supportive daddy coming to every game. It was a few times that I made it. And I'm telling you, so few, it's shameful. And I don't think that I'm in a position of authority to be able to tell anyone how to do it because I didn't do it. And that's why I tell you, and that's why I teach this way because I'm remorseful to it. I wish I could have been better at it, but I chased the money. I chased the prominence. Chased the affluence, and I also chased the feeling of the success of being able to do it. And when that happens, and you come from a modest upbringing, no money. I didn't come from money. I didn't come from affluence. Only two other people in my pedigree ever graduated high school, and one other person went to college. My uncle and my aunt. And my uncle graduated college and had to go to work for a KFC with a business degree. So I'm not from a very high pedigree. I was working class hero, raised by a lumber hauling Navy man that worked at Essex Lumber, and he drove a forklift and made $300 a week gross. So I don't think I'm in a position to be able to give that kind of advice.
Okay. I too can. I resonate with that answer. How about when and how did you realize that your efforts as a trader were bringing you clarity?
Can you
Where,
can you say it one more time? I'm sorry.
excuse me, where or how did you realize that your efforts were bringing you clarity? I mean, for a new trader or for someone who's coming up in this game, where I mean, there is no silver line that someone crosses, but how does someone, where would you recommend? Okay, this is, let me frame this in the way, like, a milestone for a trader who's up and coming. Could you list 3 milestones that you believe are paramount to them becoming consistent and profitable? In your eyes, for the novice trader listening, what is a trackable device on their journey?
In the beginning, I started with a want. I wanted to be significant. I wanted to be able to afford things that none of my family members could. And I dated a girl that I wanted to impress. And I later married, and she left me for a 40-year-old man that used to give me candy at his family grocery store. So I can relate to your first wife story, but not to be the guy that outdoes you. I think it's a little bit more painful when she's 17 and she goes with a 40-year-old man. So I had a lot of hurt and a necessity for me to rise up above whatever anyone thought of me and my family. So it starts with the belief that it's possible for you. If you don't have that, everyone around you is going to convince you that it's not for you. So that mile marker, you have to have that right from Jump Street. You can't not have that. And as long as you hold on to that, you can lose everything but that. And as long as you have that, that's enough for you to say, I'm not quitting. It's just a matter of time. You have to be responsible and own every action. is no one else's fault but your own. In the beginning, I faulted everything. I faulted brokers. I faulted the people I learned from and thought I was understanding what they just wrote in one chapter. I would literally take something I read in one chapter and be so quick to go out there and put it into real practice with real money. And then gone, lose. The, the time I understood that my efforts were panning out and was presenting what it is I was beginning to see as the first stages of figuring out what it is I should be doing as a trader was when I stopped trying to trade everything and focus on one or two things. And I'm very appreciative of Larry Williams for this aspect because he talked about how he was trading all the commodities, the agricultural markets and the financial markets. And then finally, it wasn't until he settled in on two markets, the bond market and the S&P 500. And he didn't care what anything else did. I shunned that advice early on. I said, okay, that's just opinion because I can make more if I follow all these other markets. But that's foolishness because I didn't have enough money to meet the margin to be able to trade even one contract of five different markets, let alone all the markets I was following. And once I started seeing the progress of seeing only a few handful of setups between the bond market and the S&P 500, I knew that all I needed to be able to do is focus on a model, one approach to doing it, do it for the week, and once I hit my number, stop. And if I can be consistent doing that, I'm going to build a rapport with the market and my ability to stick to a model. I will build discipline, and I'll have something to hang my fears against when I do have losing trades because I have a progress that I can go back to and say, no, it doesn't mean it's failed. It's because I have this where it worked. I have this where it worked. This is where it worked. This is where it worked. So it's a way for me to lean on my own experiences because the books at that time stopped working for me. They didn't give me inspiration anymore. I stopped buying books because they no longer gave me hope. So I had to find that in my own experiences. So it was at that time when I abandoned the pursuit of buying courses, books for the sake of learning something I had to replace a failed logic on. I had sound logic. I was accumulating real experience, but I didn't need, or I didn't know that I needed that in the beginning when I first started because I thought it was a trick to trading that I just had to mimic versus discovering who I was and what I needed to fix about myself and patience. I started that on Baby Pips. That was the first thing I started talking about. You have to have patience. Everything that you want can happen. Given enough time, you put the effort in consistently, you will get the results. No matter what, by default, you'll get it. But too many people rush to get there. And that rushing causes you to forget why you even started trading in the first place. You, you all want to make more money. That's why I did it. I didn't originally start trading to be a rich person. I wanted to be able to stop working at 40. So my plan was 20 years. I was willing to wait 20 years. Some of you don't even want to listen to a 2 hour lecture that's going to help you make $2,000 in a week. You're complaining that it's too long to go through that. I was submitting to a 20-year program. You're bitching about going through a 4-year degree at college. I had a 20-year program. You're complaining about having to work the rest of your life and never had anything inside of that. I was subscribing to the idea that I'm going to have to work until I'm 40 and I'm not going to be able to take any change in direction until I'm at that age of 40. So it was a different mindset. That at that moment, that's how I knew every effort I was putting forward was going to yield the results I was aiming for, but I had them in very small, little bite sizes in terms of reality.
Okay. Love that. How are we on time, Nate?
I'll give you 15 more.
Okay. Perusing through some questions here, seeing what the audience is asking. And You've got a zillion models. I mean,
Over 81 different ways of entering price.
They're not models. They're this mechanisms that I can build a model around. So that all of them they have a limitless multiplier added to it. But I have 81 ways to get into a trade. Yeah.
I know we're dads, and you can't say what your favorite is, but ICT's preferred method. Again, I feel like I'm asking. Inquiring minds want to know. You've got a myriad, but if you had to boil it down into one, and if not one, three of what you've included in your body of work, what would ICT say is his preferred method? I understand the variables and I understand the difficulty in answering this. I do. I'm
Are
prefacing
you
my
asking
questions.
only on what I've shared publicly? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I mean, if you want to share what you haven't shared publicly, yes, please, by all means.
Let's speak in the realm of what's already been shared.
Okay.
If I had to only trade one model for the rest of my life, knowing everything that I've given out publicly, if I had to just choose one of them, it would be the second stage distribution of a market maker sell model or second stage reaccumulation of a market maker buy model. And I could make as much money as I ever want and never need to do anything else, look at anything else, and I would be quite content with that.
Okay, so an MMXM or a 2022, essentially, right? Like the okay. I mean, yes, that's what you're saying.
I'll probably just I'll replace October's model. I'll just teach that one. I'll teach it as if this is the model. If I was never teaching anything else, and this was the line in the sand said, I'm never going to teach anything new, and nothing new in the books would ever be revealed or nothing like that. If it was just what I've released up until right now today, October 7th, 2023, all of you know my market maker models. Okay, it's not white golf. It's very specific elements that are part of the buy side of the curve and the sell side of the curve, and they're directly linked to both sides. They both have a relationship with one another. It's not support and resistance. It's a logic of order flow. On a market maker sell model, I would be aiming for a pool of liquidity below the original consolidation. So there's sell side down here. I'm going to wait for a reversal. I'm going to wait for it to sell off and create another opportunity to sell off. But at least pierce 50% of from the smart money reversal down to the sell side liquidity. It has to drop at least 50%. If it drops 50% of that and then starts to rally again, I'm going to key that up with the other side of the curve where the market was rallying up before it reversed. I'm going to pair it up with something over there as a PD array that was bullish on that side, but now it's going to act as a inversion level. A lot of my charter members are going to have light bulb moments here listening to this. And that short is the second stage distribution or redistribution rather. And it's going to run quickly, the biggest powerful run right into the sell side. So what I'm waiting for is a unicorn setup where I'm waiting for the best of the best. Everything's in motion. I got everything on my side. Everything is in play for it to be there. And now I'm going to risk 5% on that trade.
Ooh, boy, that's some sauce, dear sir.
And so you're saying the October model is this?
Yeah, I'll teach that one.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you heard that. That's so the reaccumulation and sell side drives down to 50%, and then you pair it up with another PD array and you take it on the reversal. I think that's what I heard.
Okay, imagine a market maker sell model where you have a consolidation and relative equal lows are formed and it starts to rally up. It rallies up, it creates a little consolidation. You might classically see that as a bull flag or a small pennant. Then it rallies out of that and maybe not all the time, but sometimes it'll create a second stage of reaccumulation, trading up to a premium array, a level that I think is a draw on liquidity. If I was bullish, I would reach for that. I don't necessarily have to be there for that time of the trade. I might identify something at a later time, say, oh, I wasn't trading, I didn't see that there, but now I see this. It's reacting off of a level that should offer sell side. So, with sell side delivery, the market should drop down. So I'm anticipating price reacting and reversing at the smart money reversal. Once it starts to break down, if it goes back up a little bit, that's the smart money reversal. Low risk sell is the next stage, and then it'll drop. Then you get 2 points of redistribution where it sells off. The second one, which many times can look like the third, the second one after when you get the low risk sell, that low risk sell, when it drops down, its drop has to be at least 50% from the smart money reversal to where the sell side you're aiming for is. As long as it does that, then I will trust that the next rally is going to go right into a premium array on the left side of the curve before it went up to make the high and reversed. And I know some of this is going to be very confusing for some of you that don't know what I'm talking about, but I promise you it's extremely simple. But the caveat is the first sell off needs to go down 50% of the total range before you get to the sell side. Once that occurs, I know, because if you remember in the core content when I'm teaching market maker sell models and buy models, I give instances where that market maker buy model can fail to go to its target, much like a market maker sell model can fail to go to its pool of liquidity. Why would it do that? Because it's part of a larger continuation. So when and how would I determine when it's going to fail? That first leg of redistribution on the sell side, if it doesn't pierce 50% of that range from the smart money reversal down to the sell side liquidity, if it doesn't do that, then it's not going to go down there. It's going to be a continuation and reversal and go the other way. So I literally just gave you something that even charter members don't know. And some of you don't know what I mean by that, and that's okay. But you'll learn it this month before I close the month out.
Oh boy, if Zeusie's listening, I know he would say, sauce.
It's a universal model too, so it works on all time frames. It's not limited to any one particular time frame.
I love that. I love that. I love that we get a couple trading specific kind of gems in this conversation, meaning for a fact, folks are going to go back and listen to. And the trader specific questions, I know folks are going to love combing through. So, I mean, we've had a vulnerable Michael. We've had an articulate Michael. We've had the trader Michael. We've had the family man Michael. We've had an excellent back and forth in emulating and mimicking what our conversation was for nearly 5 hours back on, I believe it was April 11th, I want to say, if my notes are correct. It was around then. And talking about models and trading and giving the folks what they want. Is there, I'm a fib based guy, and I love OTE. Is there any, have you revealed maybe, is there like a special fib setting, or is there a special way of measuring price within a range, or again, this question, because I'm a fib based trader and I'm asking almost selfishly within my own trading aspirational kind of questions outside of the 70.5 we know, and I'll say the 61.8 is also a real big deal just because of the Fibonacci of life, right, within our elbows, our hands, and bending of things. Is there a certain way in 2023 today that Michael would explain a fib setting or a way in which to key off of a fib that he hasn't already utilized within your body of work? Just asking. I don't know. Is there any
None that I would make,
special?
none that I would make public.
Okay, that's a very fair statement. Very fair statement. Okay. Okay. So the short answer is yes, and that's not for us to know.
With all due respect.
And that's your prerogative, my friend. I just would be remiss if I didn't ask, being such a fib-based trader.
I'll toss this out there, and you'll see it mentioned in one of the books. This is another little extra. When I was teaching fair value gaps and I was teaching standard deviations, I did not spell it out for charter members. I hinted at it because most of what I taught prior to having a formalized mentorship was me laying down breadcrumbs. I wanted to see if anybody else would pick up on some of the things that I was looking at and seeing in price. And I would honestly tell you who they are if they were. Um, I'm certain once I leave, there's going to be all these people that come out and say, "Yeah, I had this figured out," but you've never seen them up to this point. So that's one of the things I am going to be turned off by. But the element of taking a standard deviation, which is equal distant measurements, okay, for the folks that want to try to correct me, you don't know what a standard deviation is. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. The measurement of a fair value gap, a buy side imbalance, sell side efficiency, or a sell side imbalance, buy side efficiency, either one, okay? If you have that measurement from high to low and you run standard deviations with that, if you get a standard deviation of that equal distance replicated above and below, and it agrees with a premium array that you're already anticipating as a draw, you have increased the probabilities of that trade exponentially. If you include standard deviations of a new week opening gap or a new day opening gap with the same thing, if you have convergence of those levels with those deviations above and below, if you're bullish, you're going to focus on the expansion higher with standard deviations moving up. If you start seeing these overlapping, and it has to be for Forex, it's going to be 3 to 5 pips. For futures, it's going to be 2 to 3 handles. That's how tight it's going to be. If you start seeing that convergence together, those targets are most of the time my targets. That's the real thing I'm aiming for. And I'll take partials along the way that make sense to what I've shown publicly, where, oh yeah, this is a buy side liquidity pool on the 15-minute time frame, but I'm using the structure that's on an hourly chart. But since there's a reason to take something off, and I'm teaching students to pay themselves because they're not going to have the ability to hold on to the full trade. I already know that. But if I teach them, it's okay. It's allowed. It's permissible for you to not have the ability or the courage to hold for the full trade. Take partials here. And it gives them mile markers to reach for. Say, okay, it's real hard for me to hold for this one, but if it gets there, I'm going to take the profit and I'll close the trade off and I'll just watch and see what happens, which is great. It allows for growth. But standard deviations can absolutely be mapped on imbalances, inefficiencies, and new week and new day opening gaps.
Saucy. After my boy Zeusy. I love measuring gaps. I mentioned that a little before. I love hearing you say that. Wow. Traders getting the sauce from ICT. Trader Roundup. Oof. I want to say thank you, Michael, for taking the time and the opportunity I mean, selfishly, I'll ask, what are the chances or likelihood? I mean, you're going to hang up when you say you're going to hang up Twitter. Does that mean that that an opportunity or a chance of us having something like this could potentially ever happen again, or is when you hang up Twitter, you're literally hanging it up and it's done, and then it's just your SoundCloud. I mean,
Yeah, I'm absolutely leaving Twitter. Yeah, I already have in mind what I want to say in a short little video that'll be posted on Twitter, 11:59, November 11th. So that way, I took it all the way to the last minute, and there will be no tweets. I will not like any posts. I will not retweet someone else. I'm not looking at my Twitter. I won't have any association with it, but everything will stay there. I've never deleted a tweet. I've never intended to remove them. I'm not going to take the account down. Um, that doesn't mean that Twitter won't remove the videos that I have with music up already with trade executions. That's why I've already said, if you like those things, you might want to download them and save them, until I get them up on my own website. Now, I can't promise when I'm going to get that done because I'm still looking at people, presenting their submissions for trying to make the $5,000 for, redoing my website. I haven't picked anybody yet, so in case you're still on the fence about that, I haven't seen anybody do it where I like it yet. Um, my wife has allowed for one thing per week, but not to the degree that like we're doing here today. No way, it ain't gonna happen. But she said one day per week, and it could be on a weekend day. But I cannot, and I'm not allowed to do anything throughout the week. That's her time. It's family time, and my job is to be a husband. So those work hours are Monday through Friday, and I get one weekend day where I can do something, but it can't take a lot of the day up. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I don't. It's just going to be a big adjustment for me.
I'm sure it is, mate. I mean, for sure.
But to
Life.
answer your question, because I think I danced around it inadvertently, and I didn't mean to do that.
No, you're
I
fine.
don't think I'm going to have. I don't think I'm going to have the opportunity or available for the opportunity for like something like this again. And I know some people were saying that Top Step were interested in having me on there. I really don't really want to do that. I have a lot of people that have podcasts. I have a lot of people that have larger functions and things that I don't want that because you hear me saying I don't want to be here doing it. And if I'm on here doing things like this, it's communicating the opposite. So I want to diminish. I want to enjoy the casual departure where I feel comfortable doing it. And I don't want to increase as I'm going out. I want to just slowly, smoothly just say a friendly goodbye. And I'm going to still be haunting everywhere, but I'm not going to be engaging publicly. That's all.
Wow. I feel honored. I feel honored that you're here. So again, thank you. Thank you for coming in and doing this today. Very privileged. So yeah, man, I want to leave you with any final thoughts on that note with, our time kind of wrapping up. Um, knowing that this is a very unique opportunity and a closeness that the community gets with you that otherwise is going to be limited. I mean, we're in October. We're less than a month away, winding down. The very first bucket list item that you want to do, that you're willing to make public for your wife, for your family, for anything? Is there a burning desire after so November 12th hits? What's the first thing Michael Huddleston's going to do? I realize the cleats are getting hung up, but the man, not ICT, the man, what's on that list? I know you want to spend time with the wife and family, but is it? I mean, is it the Bugatti? that beautiful carcass that looked pretty that looked like a pretty stellar flex.
uh, that's me trolling. I'm trying to be funny because I was just reacting to somebody else saying something to the effect of, you know, I don't know if they were being mean spirited or if they're just teasing with me. So I like to do those types of things. And unless you know me and you don't know my sense of humor, you won't pick up on sarcasm or things like that. That's not me. I would never do that. The roads up here beat up my vets, so to have something like that, millions of dollars for a car, I would never spend millions of dollars on a car. That's an IQ test, and if you buy those fucking things, you're stupid. But I think that my wife wants to go to the Grand Canyon, and we've had things so many times in the last 2 months, 3.5 months, come up that prevented that trip. And we were going to take the RV out, but now the weather's starting to change, so those things have to be winterized because if they freeze, it causes all kinds of problems, plumbing. So she's wanting to plan a trip to do that. So we have to work out the logistics with the older kids to, watch the house, watch the dogs, and be here and help manage the everyday thing while we're doing that. If in fact that's what we do, it's still up in the air. But apart from that, there's not been one thing. Because I'll be honest with you, my wife doesn't believe I'm going to do it. She's made it very adamant, ultimatums like, hey, look, it's we're going to have real problems if you keep doing this. And I'm telling her that we're done. And because of that, well, a perfect example. This morning I said, I should be done in about 2 hours. How long have we been going?
A minute, brother. A minute.
So she knows that my nature is over delivering. So she's asked me to now redirect that to her in the boys, and she doesn't believe that I'm going to be able to do it. And I'm admittedly nervous because I don't know how to not be ICT. Like I don't know how to not be him. It's scary to think about it because that's who I've defined myself as for a very long time. But I don't want to lose my wife, and I don't want to make her any more upset than she has been.
Let me ask you this. It's a follow up to that thought. Like you've
Okay.
heard of professional athletes leaving a professional league. Like I'll utilize an NFL player, an NBA player. When they leave the NBA or they leave the NFL, when they're used to these stadiums of just crowds of people, similar to what you do, just with a tweet, with any sort of interaction that you have within the community, there is this withdrawal. And you knowing yourself and your audience knowing you and your wife knowing you, this disbelief, could you see maybe some parallels with leaving this, coliseum of folks and there being some form of withdrawal? I mean, could you see? I could see where that could be difficult. I could see where that would be a challenge with, I mean, I don't want to say it's a dopamine thing but there's almost like an adrenaline rush. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just curious. Like, your wife has voiced skepticism, but if you were to utilize it in the terms of being like a professional athlete, leaving or retiring, I at least have read and heard and studied others' accounts in saying that there is this withdrawal, that it
I,
is
I
really difficult.
I'm already anticipating it, and I have been trying to condition myself because the level of output, and if you've seen on the YouTube channel, I'm trying because I could literally put all kinds of videos up there. I could do reviews every single day. If it was all about ad revenue and collecting that money like that, I could be pumping them out there, and people would be watching it, and I'd be getting paid doing it. I'm trying to condition myself over the last couple months to do less and less and less. And look at my Twitter. Same thing. I'm tweeting less. May not feel like it because I go on a rant once in a while, but I've been tweeting far less than I have in the past because I know I'm going to have withdrawals. I'm going to have, um, I'm going to be looking at my charts. I'm going to be trading, and I'm going to see something, and the natural impulse is go to Twitter and tweet out this. I'm going to have that, but I have to now discipline myself, and it's going to take my wife observing me probably not being my normal self, and that's why I have to also be cognizant of that and be aware that don't look like you're miserable because you're not doing what you're so used to doing, because that'll offend her. And then I'm afraid that I'll influence her. She'll say, go do what you give into it and just go do what you want to do. That's not fair to her. So I have a lot of pressure on me to do something that I think in anybody else's eyes should be a very easy thing. If you don't want to do something, you just don't do it. But my whole life has been this. Like my whole life has been like I was inner circle trader before you knew me on Baby Pips. Like I've been that guy. I've been that guy since 1997, going into 1988. Like that's when inner circle trader was really coined. But before that, I was Oxytixo. That's who I was on America Online. That was me. But I've always
Wait,
been
Ox
this guy.
what? Oxytixo?
Oxytixo.
Oxytixo. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting
So,
name.
yeah. You know, I love sharing and I love getting the feedback when people see it pan out. And that feedback on Twitter I guess in a way is a dopamine hit, but it's not on the basis of me being celebrity. It's on them sharing that moment of, see, it works, doesn't it? It has nothing to do with me. I'm completely outside the conversation. I'm just a conduit that says, hey, look here, watch where it goes. And boop, it goes there. And I try to make an emotional response that you'll remember because everybody lives on emotion, right? I mean, think about the first time you had your heart broken. You know exactly where you were, you know exactly what it felt like and who it was. It leaves a scar. Well, I want to have a mile marker where you remembered being here live, where I said, this is what it's going to do. And it happened. And then when I tweet, and I have the tweet already typed out, as soon as I tell you before it's going to go there, I already have in mind what I want to say in the tweet. I tell you where it's going to go, and then I start typing out the tweet and picking the meme picture that I'm going to use with it. And then I have to sit there and wait for it. And then when the to
Oh,
the
buddy.
person to the person trying to call me from Germany, don't do that. Hold on one second. Hang on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, back. I had to put it on Do Not Disturb. I forgot to do it. Usually I do that because every time I do a live or I do a Twitter space, everybody knows my phone number. Like everybody has my fucking phone number, and they either tweet to me, "How you doing, ICT? Good morning, ICT. Thanks for this or this that." And if I would have had my phone next to me when I was doing a live stream the other day, a couple of them were telling me, "Hey, there's no audio. Fix your audio." And while I appreciate that, uh, all of you are the reason why my phone number is changing in November. I'm having an unlisted phone number and a business name you will never know about. So, please just understand that I have to have my own privacy. And I know some of you would love nothing more to be able to say, I got ICT's phone number in my phone and I can text him, he'll reply to me. Um, that's just not where I want to go with that. And I don't want to offend any of you or make you feel like I don't appreciate that love and adoration. But that's just beyond where I want to have our relationship. I want to be able to lay something in your hands, watch you run with it. I want you to be the star, all of you. I want to watch all of you rise up and be better than me, be bigger than me. I want to see that in all of you. And not all of you are going to be able to do that. But if some of you do, that's going to entertain me the rest of my days. And I can't wait to see that.
I love it. I love it. We got a who's who within the community here. We got a lot of folks here, and it's nice to see them here. I mean, you're used to the large audiences. It's nice that they engaged with Trader Roundup and hanging out with us today. Me being able to see you, and for me personally, having you and M7 in the same room, it's awesome. And I really like the community building aspects versus the divisive tribal nature that some traders can take. So I just love having the most important, and for me, who have been the most important folks in my trading career in the same room, on the same call, understanding that this is a limited thing. This is limited edition. This is not something that happens regularly. Um, I mean, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you to ICT and to M7 for the clarity, for the increase that I've been afforded based off of your ability to communicate and articulate where and how you see price. And I believe you do it in such a way that this idea of universal just means that all of the components are there for an individual to be able to construct it and make it make sense for themselves in an otherwise chaotic, very competitive environment that is, statistically conducive to loss. So again, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, and how grateful and appreciative I am to have you, Michael, here, and to have M7, who's been a real friend and mentor to me as well. It's a very, very honor. It's very much an honor and a privilege to share the stage with you guys. And Michael, thank you for recreating our 4-hour plus interview from early on in April, doing it here for folks to get an opportunity to listen to.
Yeah, I
And
felt a little guilty because yeah, I tried very hard to clean that video up, and I exhausted everything I could. I was like, you know what? I settled in on thinking I would just do an audio version of it. I was like, it won't work. Like it won't work. It'll look different from all the other ones anyway. So I said, you know what? He asked if he could, do audio version. Okay, well, I'll just make myself available to hang out with y'all. And I'm glad that you at least see it wasn't the same conversation, obviously. I mean, different things were said, and we were being more personal that won't be here. But by far and large, most of everything else that would be not so personal, we covered it today. And I wanted to make sure, since that was the one that I did last, it wasn't able to be making it up on my YouTube channel. You're welcome to share this and do whatever you want to do with it. It matters not to me, what you do with it.
thank you.
But I wanted to give you your time, and I felt like it was it was unfortunate because we spent some hours talking and we had a good conversation, and it was lost to technical glitches in the bandwidth coming through. So I was like, let's just do it again. And I'm not going to do any more interviews. Like I apologize for the folks that want to do them. Um, I don't have enough time to do all them, and it's easier for me to just have a short little exchange with you on Twitter while I'm here. And most of the stuff really, if you really condense it, they're all just basically trying to tell me what they do with it and just say thank you. And there's a short way of doing it. Just send a tweet. I'll appreciate it. I'll like it. I'll show it to my family and say, here's another one. Everybody that ever shows me their results with what they've done with this, my whole family sees it. I'm proud of you. You're like one of my children. I don't care if you're older than me. I look at you as you just did something that I can hang on my wall and say, that's mine. They listened and they did it. They're succeeding. They don't just like flash across my screen and I'm forgetting it. Like I have screenshots of everything. Every one of your certificates that you pass, every time you do a withdrawal, every time you sent me pictures. I have boxes of stuff that people have sent me letters, pictures of their certificates, their photographs, drawings, everything. I save all that stuff. I have all kinds of stuff saved up from even when I was doing the mentorship, people that wrote me and appreciating and saying this and saying that. Yeah, in a lot of ways, I'm a pack rat for that because I don't, they're treasures to me. When I'm older and no longer anybody reaching out and it dies down, and I want it to, I want to be able to sit back on my rocking chair and pull out these things and relive all these moments because they're like journals. They're like journal entries. They're people's lives that I was so fortunate enough to be able to touch and make something better for them by having my time and energy directed towards them. And you've given me a gift by sharing your experience with what I've done with my entire life. And I thank and appreciate all of you that have done that.
One more question I just thought of, and it has to do with your boys.
Mm-hmm.
I utilize the analogy of a professional ball player retiring or exiting the league, we'll say. Do you think you'll live vicariously through your boys? I mean, do you think any one of them, either Caleb or Cody, are going to step up into an ICT junior role? I mean, because I'm pretty sure the community would embrace them. And even if you're not engaged so much with it, I mean, you are creating a monster in
Mm-hmm.
in your kids. I mean, that I guess that would be one of like my last questions. I think for you is it's like where do you see?
I see Cameron definitely on YouTube. He wants to do it. That's his character. He wants to be out there doing it. Like he wants to show it off. He wants to be that person. Um, but he doesn't have the discipline to use my highest forms of models. And if he can't do what he's expected to do with these lower form models, he's not going to be able to do it with my Enigma, my algorithm, the real thing. He's going to have discipline sticking to these rules, and he's not showing that yet. So when I'm away from social media, I'm going to be driving him to the point at which, or he will be much more open than I am. It's his personality. It's not my personality. He wants to show off. He really wants to be out there doing it live. He really wants to do all those types of things. And if he learns how to do it well, he didn't say so, but I honestly believe he would make it available either by learning it from him doing it or just openly teaching it. And it's his to do that with. I don't care. Like once they have it, it's theirs. Caleb has flirted with the idea of, I've thought about it, but I think I would be nervous in front of other people because if they ask me questions and if I don't have the experience yet to answer it, I would feel uncomfortable being in a position where I can't answer the question. And like he doesn't want to be trolled. He's a very laid back, passive person, like my son Cody. He's not one of those people that would be adversarial. Cameron, absolutely a fucking savage. He wants to get out there. He's wanting it to happen. He's inviting it, but he's in a hurry to get to doing it without having the skill set yet. So it's his youth that's in the way right now. So while I'm away, I'm turning them into freaks. My name ain't gonna come up so much, but those are. If not any other, it'll be Cameron.
Interesting. So Cameron, Caleb, and Cody. Cameron's the one that is. I mean, would he go with that? Do you know what he might have a social media persona as? I mean, is that? I
He
mean,
doesn't have a social media now. There's already people out there pretending to be him. He does not have social media. He does not have a YouTube channel. He does not run a Telegram. He does not have a Discord. He doesn't have a Facebook. He doesn't have any of that stuff. Doesn't have any of that shit. And I told him if he gets to where I believe he's ready for it, I would make an announcement on my YouTube channel saying, here is my son Cameron's social. You're welcome to follow him. And bring it, because that at that time he'll be ready, because he wants that. He wants all that smoke, all of it. Don't pass it. He wants all of it.
All of it, huh?
Yep, that's what he wants.
Ooh, I love that, man. Wow.
So
I'm excited. I'm excited for that day to come, and I think as a dad, you'll live very vicariously through them
I
and
will make
picking them up.
appearances if he has a social media and he has a YouTube channel. I will show up periodically, sparingly. If he has that, I'll show up there. But anywhere else, I won't do it. And it's just to help promote his whole thing. But he wants to trade in front of everybody. That's what he wants to do. Like he wants to do that. But him going up on the top step leaderboard and being recognized there, that fed him. Like that gave him that little seed in there. Now he's like, I want to be top dog, dad. I want to be better than you, and I want people to say these words: "You're better than your dad," and I'm all fucking for it. I want to hear everybody say that. I want everybody to see that. I want to do it, and I want to try to create as much as I can in him so he can do that. And then I want all the other ones to try to keep up with him. And then I've been successful in what I've been trying to do with them my entire life. I don't see my youngest son, admittedly, I don't see him as a trader. I don't think he has the makeup to do it, and he's challenged. So I don't think it's any fault of his own. I'm not saying it's a complete wash. He can't do it. I'm just at this point now. I don't think he has it in him to do it, and we have to do a lot more to help him along. And but the other ones, the other three, I think Cameron is going to be the one that excels past it, because his disposition is just like that. Like he's a go getter. He's arrogant as fuck. He's confident. He wants that engagement. He wants the challenge. He wants to be able to talk smack. He wants to do all that shit. But he doesn't have a skill set yet. But you can see what he's already done in its early stages. That's not a lot of money that he made, but that's a huge milestone to pass those challenges that most people fail. If those numbers are correct, and a lot of the companies are coming out and being forthcoming with the information saying that like 1% ever get to being funded, and even there they don't even get a payout. He got two of them in the same month after getting there, and to have 12 days sitting with winning every day, 12 days in a row, and to be recognized, even though it wasn't a lot of money, that to him is like a big deal, and to me as his dad, it's a big deal. So it's given him the foundation to say, you know what, I can do this, and if I can do this early on, where am I going to be at 2 years from now? Where am I going to be at 5 years from now? And if he wants to start, teaching this stuff on a YouTube channel, that's his business. Who's going to say he shouldn't do it? I'm not going to say don't do that. I'm all for it. Like I want to see what all of you want to do, and even more, I want to see what my own kids do, and I think you would enjoy seeing it. Whatever comes from it, whether he gets better than me or not, I don't know. I want it to happen, but even if he doesn't, and he just is consistent, I think my audience would just segue right over to see, by morbid curiosity, what's his son doing today, and there it is.
Ooh, I love it. I have a feeling you got some monsters coming out of that. I have a feeling Cameron is. I mean,
Freak.
it sounds like he's gonna be the one. But I could see you having a whole camp of traders coming out with old
Yeah,
dad's concepts, pushing it out on YouTube and getting thousands of folks engaged instantly, if
yeah,
not tens of thousands. And old dad will be like, let me show you guys what's up. I haven't forgotten yet either.
yeah.
I can see it, bro. I literally think of a professional athlete retiring and their kid having watched them from the sidelines the whole time, getting old enough, mature enough, getting capable enough, and that transition happening. I
Mm,
could very easily see it, and I'm excited, and I'm rooting for the kiddos
yeah.
becoming grown.
It's time for them. It's time for me to sit down and sit back and watch them climb up.
It's awesome, man. I think that's a good place for us to leave it as far as with time and respecting your wife and graciously, thankfully appreciative of you, you know, giving your time and energy here and the flowers earlier and even asking some of the questions and whatnot. We definitely recorded it, and we'll definitely try and keep it living in the interwebs for for future prosperity.
I appreciate you being patient with me because like I told you, I planned on having it again and working it out, but with everything going on at home and Cody getting hurt and we have other things going on in extended family that's just been such a big distraction. And with me trying to also end all this stuff and come to a conclusion that is satisfactory to me, it's just everything keeps falling to the back, farther back in the queue. So I'm glad that we were able to have an opportunity to sit down and chill and conversate with one another and had an opportunity to tell everybody, what I think about in more detail, what I think you do with your community, and I hope it grows. I really hope it does. I hope there's more people that come to it, not necessarily using our stuff, but other traders that like to be around other supportive, mature audience members that have an appreciation for people that want to get out there and get it done. And they don't have to have the same game plan, but they can respect the grind that everybody else is doing to get where they got to get. So I've had fun talking with you. I've had fun, conversing with some of the members that had the opportunity to come in. If you didn't get a chance to talk, I hope you're not offended. But you're obviously welcome to send me direct messages on Twitter. Not a direct message. I don't have my messages. I will never direct message anybody. But if you want to tweet something to me or whatever, I read everything. I read everything. It might take me a day or two to get to eventually, but I see them all. And I just greatly appreciate everybody's willingness to spend time with what it is I've put out. And I wish you nothing but all success. And I look forward to hearing what you all do with it. And thanks again, Kit.
Thank you, Michael. I've got ICT concepts explained on my YouTube channel, so hopefully I can get you creeping in there every once in a while, if and when I trade there or whatever. So I'll keep you informed. That's for sure. And yeah, man, thank you for everything. Today was awesome, and we'll leave it here. So comments are open. My DMs are open. Feel free to engage. Some of you have my number. Some of you have my WhatsApp. That won't stop or change. There's a lot of scammers out there that are going to creepily ask you how your trading is and to join some group or something. We do everything here and we do it in the open, and you'll see it on my page with the blue check if it's coming from here, from me. So again, thank you, Michael. Thank you, M7, for at least being here, brother. And it's been an honor and a privilege. And all the love and all the respect in all the world. Thank you. Thank you, Michael, from the bottom of my heart for everything. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Peace.